presented by Flip Narrative. And remember, if you don't love your story, flip it.
It could be a really rough schedule, it just is what it is. You just make it work.
I was just about to say, you just got to make it work because, just like you said, it's the timing. I think the timing for me is the most difficult part.
Yeah.
Like getting adjusted to some days I work in the morning, some days I work at night, some days I work midday. And it's just like, then some days I'm working and I just got to drop everything.
That's right. And so tell me how old is your little one now?
4 months.
So, okay. So for 4 months now, and you'll deal with this more and more, like it is really hard to constantly switch the gear back and forth and then back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like go to work for a couple hours, come home, maybe you take your little one and you're dealing with that for 2 more hours, and then you hand her. Did you have a little boy or little girl?
Little
You had a
girl.
little girl. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
man.
So you hand her off to your wife, and then for another 2 hours, then you got to switch it back into business mode. And then she's going to need help. You just constantly like switching back and forth and back and forth. And that is hard. People don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey man, we're working for ourselves. Life is great. But that is super hard, especially when you get like older. It seems to get even more challenging. Like, when am I going to fit this in? And then you're like, those 2 hours you had your daughter, you're exhausted after that.
And you don't even
Just
want to
10
work
hours left in the day, right?
Right.
And you have a lot of stuff to get done. So real challenging. That's for sure.
It's super challenging. How do you juggle like hobbies? Because that's something I'm trying to get into. I used to just go to the gym and just do my thing. And then I started boxing a little bit. But I started boxing, and then as soon as Sage was born, I stopped. So I haven't even gone to the boxing gym in 4 months.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's tough. How have you been handling it?
Well, I'm going to give you some real talk here and say that, like there aren't many hobbies that I'm getting myself into right now. So you had mentioned working out. When the hit, it's like we have this big scary thing that we don't know about yet. And then I have a daughter that has a lung disease, or she has a respiratory disease. And then now we have this like respiratory virus that sounds big and scary, when it was fresh and new. So one of the places I was like afraid to go back to was the gym, because people breathing heavy in there, and it was like just a place that I didn't want to go to, and then heaven forbid bring that virus back to the household. Now everyone in my household has had it. We all recovered fine. It's including my youngest daughter. So it's all good, like fast forward.
Right.
But I got into the habit of A, not going, and then B, like, the farther away you move from going to the gym, like the less and less and less you want to actually do it. Like, it's so, it's so hard to go back in. You're like, man, I used to be so strong and so big and I looked great. Now I don't. Now you never want to go back. You know what I mean? You ever get that? You get that feeling? Like,
absolutely.
So the gym, even though now that it's all run its course through us, and like I'm a little bit more comfortable going back in, I'm still just not as consistent as I was. And so that was one of the hobbies that I kind of lost. Like, I was scared to like get my household sick when we got it anyway. Other than that, I don't have that many. Like, I like to read, and I like to learn new things. So, and I do a lot of that through my kids, right? So my oldest is into like anime and manga.
Yeah, manga comics.
So when they get excited about something, that gives me something to look forward to also. So trading cards, my oldest was into, and those types of things. But I got to be honest with you, like, I don't really have that many hobbies right now, because every minute is like, you got to be here to do this. You got to be here to do this. When my girlfriend goes to work, we don't take my youngest to school or daycare yet, because it's just out of fear and germ spreading and all of those things. So I'm when it's like, when you see my videos and it's like dad first, business second, that's the real deal. I mean, I have her, 20 to 30 hours a week sometimes. And I want to be present. Like, that's why it's Dad Planet. And that's why I do what I do. And I'm at where I'm at, I guess, professionally. But with that comes, you have to actually be present, and that
Right.
time takes away from business, right? So even though I'm like working X amount of hours a week, I'm also a full-time dad, 30 to 40 hours a week. And then my oldest comes and I've got to dedicate time to her too. So it can, can get real sticky, but these are problems I asked for. So, but yeah, I need a hobby. Like I definitely need some me time. I just don't know what that is outside of the gym.
Outside of the gym. And it's like kind of like you were saying earlier. Like I was boxing, I started getting good. Like my coach he was like pushing me. Because I told him I wanted to get at least a couple, like, little amateur bouts in. So he was training me like one of his fighters.
Yeah.
And then once Sage was born, I missed a week, and then I came back, and I'm telling him, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna lock back in. I'm gonna lock back in because my cardio was already shot after that first week.
Right.
I literally haven't gone back since.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm just now getting back to like going to the gym and lifting weights and like doing cardio and stuff like that. But like actually training again,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's over. I
It
don't know.
gets so easy to not go, and then next day not go, and then next day not go, and like trying to get, and if you've stayed physically fit throughout your life, your muscle memory will catch up pretty quickly.
Right.
But it's just especially when you want to be at home. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like I want to sit here and hold this like bundle of joy all day long, and it's challenging, and it presents, can make things complicated with your schedules and all that stuff. But that's the part that is even probably harder, especially at this age, right? Because she's only going to be 4 months this month, then she'll be 5 months, and that time goes by so
Hmm.
quick. So it's like we're positioned really well for fatherhood through what we do, but I don't want to just be a dad. Like I want to
Right.
do other things in the world, like,
Right.
get back out into the swing things, really, like, meet new people, meet new friends, like do things, because the entire globe's been locked down for 2 years, basically,
Yeah.
so it's like it's not just us. Like I think a lot of people probably have that same problem. It's like, God, I've gotten so used to like not seeing my family, like that's awful, like, or not going to
Hmm.
movies or something like that. We have to reintegrate ourselves back into society with maybe a
Society.
little less fear that, this virus is going to stick around forever, because it won't. But man, what a what a what an interesting couple of years it's been. That's for sure.
It's been tough. It's been tough. I think in the sense of, like you said, in the sense of what we do on a daily, in the sense of, being entrepreneurs, kind of having your own schedule, doing your own thing, it gives us the freedom to be more present and to be more involved. But it's also a trade-off because yeah, you have your own schedule, yeah, you have your own time, but it's just like it's almost easier when your time is like kind of blocked off and almost like dictated to you, because then for a fact, okay, I have to do this. This is a non-negotiable. And as of today, I'm sitting in front of so much inventory that I'm just like, I need to get this listed, need to get this listed. But I know if Sage is crying, I'm gonna run in there.
Yep. And you said something interesting. It's easier when there's a schedule handed to you.
Hmm.
It is, and if you're like me, you're like you, there is no schedule. Like you
No.
have to create it and adhere to it. And that takes a tremendous amount of discipline. So, if you don't have that, you have to learn to get to that, or else it can get ugly. I mean, I
Quick.
see a lot of people talk about like their death pile is just stacked up and stacked up and stacked up. And it's like, you gotta, your discipline really definitely has to trump your motivation. You should have a little bit of both, but like,
Hmm.
just for me too, like my motivation needs to or my discipline needs to overstep my motivation, or nothing will get done. I mean, even my like office floor back here right now is kind of a mess, but
Mm.
so I leave it this way because it looks gross and I'll eventually get to it. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's just something that works for me. But that's why most people go to jobs,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's easier, and they do better being told, given a schedule. But I created my channel, and I'm sure you do the same, to like show people another way. Like you don't have to stay doing that. You can do what we do. There's like plenty to go around. Like,
Absolutely.
but you have to learn how, if you're not a disciplined person, you have to learn it, and you can learn it, but there's a learning curve. And if you, especially if you've got kids running around the house, like, be ready for any and every distraction. Like, someone, I think my littlest one was just knocking on the door. So I'm like, ready for the bust in here any minute. Like, Dad, can I play games? Dad, can I sit down? Can I walk? What you're doing? So
I think it's just one of those things where I know I'm getting better with time. Like, as time is progressing, like from month 1 to month 4, I'm in a much better headspace, and I'm much more consistent with everything across the board. Like, I'm doing better. But initially, like, that's why I wasn't posting any videos. Like, I wasn't, like, my mindset wasn't even there. Like, I literally took a full 2 months off, and the goal was really to take 1 month off, but it just kept building up. And now it's like, all right, I'm a little more comfortable, but
yeah,
it's tough. The funny
yeah.
thing is, the funny thing is, I even took a job. Did you catch that video that I
didn't see
posted?
that. No.
So let me tell you, I could talk about it now, but it's like, at the time it was like embarrassing.
Cause you felt like you was losing.